Good afternoon, all. We're gonna get
Good afternoon,
started in
Commissioner.
good afternoon, Commissioner Coy. We're gonna get started in 1 minute. Having a little tech problem here. Rather be on my computer than my phone. There we go. Good afternoon again. Welcome all to today's Safety and Wholeness Committee. This is Committee Chair Mujahid Muhammad. I would like to welcome you all to today's Thursday, March 20th, Safety and Wholeness Committee. If you have not already done so, please mute your phone and or computer. If anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from today's call. Additionally, please turn off your camera if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is present. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. We are a little short. Starting out, we have some commissioners that will be joining us shortly. So, Commissioner Coy,
Commissioner Coy, present.
good afternoon. Commissioner Esposito, Commissioner Brooks, and Commissioner Slater Harrington. Thank you. Today's public comment, members of the public who would like to provide comment to this committee can do so by signing up the day of our meeting. So for our committee meetings, we have a new policy now. We are allowing anyone who wants to sign up into the point of the meeting. So up to 5 individuals will be given the opportunity to provide public comment to the Safety and Wholeness Committee. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes. All comments should address safety and wholeness concerns. Individuals or groups interested in providing comment to the committee may sign up in 3 ways. Email us at public.comment@bcps.k12.md.us or call the board office at 443-642-4095. You can always visit us in person at the Alice G. Penderhughes Building, 200 East North Avenue, room 406. Finally, the chat function for our virtual meeting today will not be used as a tool for gathering feedback or answering questions from the public. If you have any follow-up questions or feedback, and or you did not get a chance because we had more individuals than 5 for public comment, make sure you email us immediately. In that case, at schoolboard@bcps.k12.md.us, and the board office staff will respond to you immediately. So with that, we begin today's agenda. I am looking forward to hearing about the collaboration that we have with school safety. And with that, I will open up the floor to staff. Who do we have today?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Muhammad, and all of the other board members who are on. Um, I am Sonia Goodwin, and I am the Executive Director for Whole Child Services and Supports. And I am joined by some of my colleagues today. So today we will go over the city collaboration. We'll give you some updates of where we are currently. So I'm going to be joined by Director Stokes for that area, and then we're going to provide some resources for at-risk students. Just giving an update of where we are. And again, I'm going to be joined by two individuals for that one, Dr. Tanks from the Reengagement Center and Dr. Pate, who's going to go over some information about the McKinney-Vento um, supports that we're providing for our at-risk students. And then we're going to give some updates around chronic absenteeism and some other areas that we are monitoring. We're going to be joined by one of our colleagues from attendance, and that is Mr. McCoy. And then Director Banzak is going to bring us to a close with case management, supporting how we support those who have been suspended multiple times, as well as safety mediation. For some of the areas that we may not have put on here is because we may have presented on them before, but we are more than happy to provide any additional information that may be needed. And as we go to the next slide, you'll see that is actually all of the areas that I just covered. And we are going to go right from there. If you switch to the next slide, I'm going to invite Director Stokes to come on.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As Edie Goodwin said, I am here to share just a brief update on our partnerships. You can go to the next slide, please. I am going to primarily focus on our two partnerships with the Mayor's Office. One partnership being our school-based violence intervention program, and then the next partnership being with our Safe Passage program. Our school-based violence intervention program really was able to get off ground in this school year. This again is a partnership with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, also known as MONSE. Particularly in this work, we are working in identified schools with a true focus on being able to change the culture and ideas about and the acceptance of violence in our schools community. But we're really focusing in on conflict mediation, really focusing in on youth development services, building their competencies, those social emotional competencies, building their capacity to be able to do mediations, and then providing wraparound services. Of course, not just through our partnership with MONSE, but as a result of this partnership with MONSE, we also have the ability to have extended partners that can support with families as well. Next slide. So the beginning part of the year, our community-based organizations started within our schools in the month of September. During the month of September through December, the focus was really on, as you know, the importance of building relationships, getting to know the school community. The 4 schools in which this program is taking place is Carver. The partner there is the Movement Team, Digital Harbor, and the partner, the community-based organization, is also the Movement Team there. We also have Mervo, where the community-based organization is the Peace Team. And then at Emerson, I can say that we now have a new partner there, and it's I Am Mentality. All of these organizations are working within the school community. For this second half of the school year, they will really start focusing on one core component of the work, which is to ensure that we have at least 8 students who are trained as mediators within the school. So the goal then there is to ensure that they have the ability to help with problem solving and conflict management skills. And then also the staff that's on site, in addition to providing assistance with the mediation, they also will be able to provide any students with access to additional counseling for students who might be at risk for additional incidents of violence. Next slide, please. The Moxfist partnership, our Safe Patches partnership, this started off last year, where our particular office was able to provide additional support to identify a set of schools. We were able to ensure that those partnerships were at the school, before school, and after school in order for them to provide support as students are traveling to and from school. As you know, the Moxfest was also involved with a partnership with the city schools police, where they were providing safe passages at particular portions of the city around the area. In this school year, we have expanded that work. In this school year, we now have an additional set of 12 schools who are getting support with safe passage, mostly towards the end of the school day or after school, but we have extended that program to include more schools for this school year. As we move forward for the school-based violence intervention program, as we continue in this work, the next step is to really lean into identifying an evaluator. We really want to look at an evaluator to identify what has been the impact of the work, and also to see what additional phases of implementation that we should continue or build upon for the next school year. Thank you.
You can move to the next slide, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Roger Shaw, and I'm the Executive Director of the Reengagement Center, and I will be presenting on the next few slides about resources to support our young people who are being reengaged and coming back into Baltimore City schools after being out for some time. And so on this slide here, you have a look at the number of students that we've seen on the left side over the years, through the years. And the last few weeks, our data system was down. And so actually, we have some updates that we would have to present and update you on. So right now, we've seen about 1,428 students that have come through the Reengagement Center that needed support with getting back into school, support with just having the necessary items they need to be successful in school. And so the intake process is going fairly well, but there's a number of students that we are trying to support and will continue to support based on what they need and what the story is from them coming through the Reengagement Center. On the right-hand side, it gives you an estimate of the number of students that we've seen monthly. You don't have February and March there because, you know, as I stated, our system has been down for a while and we're just getting updated information. But the students are constantly coming through. And though we're in March, we're still re-engaging students and re-engaging families. Next slide, please. This slide here gives you an idea of what are some of the supports we are providing to those students and families as they come through the Reengagement Center to re-enroll in school. And not only is it the student that we support, we try to also support the families because we know that the students are, once they leave that school environment, they go back to their families, and we want to make sure we support the families as much as possible. So this slide here kind of gives you the support and some of the data that we're working with. As I stated before, you know, our intake, student intake, if we're looking at that first box there, our intake is about 1,428 students. And those are some of the things that we have done there. What I'm excited about, we had students, 74 students that graduated in January, and we supported them. And these were students that probably, if they had not re-engaged, would not have been a graduate. So we were glad to see that we had 74 of our winter graduates. We support our pregnant and parenting students, and those are some of the things that we do there. I won't read everything for you, but those are some of the students that we support who, because of childcare issues, may have to attend our evening school option. And so we're trying to work around those students, that work with those students as well. And then we have our DJS supports. We are focusing heavily on our DJS students, and each one of those students get a mentor that will follow them and try to support, and will support them throughout this school year. And so you see the numbers there, and they come into our re-engagement center, and they don't get assigned to a school right away, because we want to make sure we work with their mindset. So they stay in our transition center for a couple of days, and we work with them. We give them a life coach. We're working with them to give them some character skills, and so that's pretty exciting. Then we have our evening school for the students who can't do day school because of various crises and various life scenarios. And so you see that number there. And then we are working with our students, our multilingual students, and through what we called our Immigrant Career Technical Assistant Project. And what that means is that we have people in this offices coming together with people in other states coming together to focus on the best way to support our multilingual students in this climate. And one of our focuses is going to be, how do we better ramp up outreach strategies in this particular climate? Then we have our homeless students that we serve, and we are always working with the homeless students when we find that there is situations where the home life is so unstable that it's very difficult to do school. And so we focus on trying to provide that stability so school can happen. The WIN project is one of the things that we're really excited about, and that is providing a pathway in the re-engagement center for students to learn a skill, because we want them to be able to have a skill once they leave high school. And some of the schools that they may attend might not particularly have a pathway. So we want to provide that opportunity in the re-engagement center. And one of the things that we're excited about is the offshore wind pathway. And what we did this past week here, a couple of days ago, we did Glow Forge training workshops, which is going to teach students how to do engraving. And this is just a start to the WIN pathway. So they'll have that skill, it'll get them engaged, and hopefully this summer they'll have an opportunity to make some money as they learn this trade continuously, and we're excited about that. And then we have a grant that we received to help us build up some of the supports that we need in the re-engagement center, like the life skills coach. Then we're working on, and we just solidified the hiring of a mental health provider. So those are some of the things that we're doing to support our young people here. Next slide, please. And basically, this slide is kind of like an offshoot of the previous slide. And this is some of the things that we've done with some of the grant money that we're receiving, and then what the immigration collaboration looks like. So that's kind of what this is ramping up to be. And these are the supports, and this is how we're moving forward. The one thing I would say here, if you look under the second column here, where we talked about driver's education, that's pretty exciting, because most of our young people say they want to get their CDLs, but they don't have a driver's license. And so what we've done is we're going to provide driver's education. We're doing that with our homeless students as well. And so that's pretty exciting for the young people as well. So that's kind of where we are.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Pate here from the Office of Health and Specialized Student Services here at City Schools. I'm going to be giving some brief information about our McKinney-Vento program, which is the program housed in our office that supports students experiencing homelessness. You can see our mission and vision here. Next slide, please. The way that we fulfill our mission and vision is we have the pleasure of working with our friends in the Re-Engagement Center for the students who come through that pathway, but we work with every school in the district. For students who experience homelessness, and the McKinney-Vento definition of homelessness includes street homeless, doubling up with a family, living in a hotel. So pretty much means if the parents of that child does not have a lease or mortgage where they sleep at night, they could be considered as experiencing homelessness and receive services through the McKinney-Vento program. So in our office, we do a lot around giving out clothing and school uniforms, laundry cards, making sure kids have transportation, hosting those best interest determination meetings to make sure that the child is placed at an appropriate school given their current living situation. Next slide, please. So those services are provided through our homeless education liaisons. We currently have 2 permanent liaisons and 4 temp liaisons. And what they do in the case management style is work with students from all of their schools to assess what those needs are and to find the resources to meet those needs. Next slide, please. Here's just a snapshot of where we currently are with the McKinney-Vento data. For the previous years, this data is end of year data. For this current school year, this was some mid-year data. Next slide, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Maurice McCoy from the Office of Student Conduct and Attendance. And I just want to bring before you our attendance goals according to our guidance. And so we like to keep our attendance goals before our schools and before everyone. And our attendance rate and goal is by the end of 2024 and 25, city schools will increase our daily attendance from 85.4% to greater than 87.4%. We're currently looking at our unsubmitted attendance as well. And so we're monitoring this throughout the school year 24-25, where each school will maintain an unsubmitted attendance rate at 2% or less. And so we're currently looking at those goals and monitoring those goals on a regular basis. Next slide, please. So some of our key initiatives that help us to monitor those goals and to make sure that we progress monitor is that we have developed 3 teams of 2, and we serve 96 schools throughout our district. We make certain that we look at our chronic absentee on a regular basis so that we can give the most accurate numbers. And so last year we ended at 43% compared to 48%. And so we're on the trajectory to be landing fairly well, we're hoping. And so the district attendance rate is currently at 85% across the board, flat compared to where we ended last year. And so we're on the right path there as well. Some of the initiatives that we keep, we have partnerships with the continuing improvement team, where we meet bi-weekly to give updates and share data with one another. Then we provide individual support to schools. We give schools opportunity to call in, and we will work with them one-on-one. And we do this also with something called a pop-up shop, where we give schools opportunity to call in and ask a burning question, and then we will give them the support that they need. And then we also offer office hours every Thursday from 10 to 11, where we invite our schools to come in, and then we provide a structured presentation to them. We're currently in the midst of our attendance stat meetings. During our attendance stat meetings, that's the opportunity for us to look at our data a little closely, then develop a strategic plan as to how we're going to tackle it. We're reminding our schools on a regular basis that data cleansing reports are necessary. Make sure that we look at our data cleansing and resolve any data that needs to be cleaned up within our schools. And then we provide ongoing support and consultation for our Infinite Campus input and how to give technical support for the reports that schools may need to pull so that they can look at their data together. Then we also have our Reimagine in the Court system with our truancy program. And then we're collaborating with the court system, and as well as helping to identify barriers that families may be facing that cause them to get in to be before a truancy judge. We want to remind our schools that we use a case management model, which we just simply just going to help to support, identify trusted individuals with those children who are chronically absent so that we can support them throughout their tenure in school. And finally, we want to remind our schools, that we're preparing for the summertime. And as we prepare for the summer, each school needs to make certain that they give us a summer attendance liaison so that we can look at those tier 3 students, put a pulse on where they are, identify any barriers that they may be facing, and prepare them for the next school year so that they can be in place and supported. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a good day.
I will jump in here. As Mr. McCoy shared with you, we do work with our continuous improvement team. And in working with them, we make sure that we are looking at our PDSA cycles in the schools to ensure that attendance teams are being productive, they're not being reactive, but they are actually responding within a good time for them to make changes so that our attendance can move in the right direction. The first bullets you'll see are the internal groups that we meet with. And this is very important because we collaborate across the teams so that we can make sure that there is always an expert in the room for different areas so that we can make decisions right at that time. And it won't take us like weeks to make a decision that we should be able to make right on the spot so we can pivot. But then we also have external partners. And with these external partners that you see listed there, these are individuals who bring a different lens to the work that we're doing with our students, because we know that we by ourselves in the school district may not have access to all of the resources that's needed. But when we partner with these individuals, it helps us to broaden our span for how we are able to support schools. So with everything that you've heard with the city collaboration, with the resources for our at-risk students, it all impacts what you see here with the attendance. But we also know that we have to take all of those wonderful strategies and wonderful efforts that are being made, and we have to use them to inform the next steps for the work that we're doing with our attendance team. And then the last part that's going to come up is case management. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Banzak so he can share how we're supporting those students.
Good afternoon. Eric Banzak, Director of School Culture and Climate. And like Edie Goodwin said, our first program that deals with case management is our repeat suspension program. And this program is in collaboration between two offices, and they are our Office of Student Conduct and Attendance and our Wholeness Office. And these supports provide targeted interventions for students with multiple suspensions, focusing on understanding the root cause of behavior and promoting positive change through restorative practices, mentoring, and skill-building activities. The supports were designed to help students make better choices while staying connected to their school community, but also the goal is to reduce repeat suspensions, improve student outcomes, and foster a more supporting learning environment. Next slide. Another program that we have that supports case management is our safety mediations, and this falls under our Office of Student Conduct and Attendance. And after schools have exhausted all school-based interventions or resources to resolve student and or group conflicts, they could reach out to the Office of Student Conduct and Attendance for district-level support through safety conferencing. The primary reason for request for district support with safety conferencings have been fighting physical attacks by students, verbal threats made by students in person and or through social media. And the Office of Student Conduct and Attendance has provided support to schools through district level safety conferencing to resolve group conflicts for 240 students. Out of the group conflicts and safety conferencings that have been held this year, 77% have conducted have resulted in successful outcomes. And I believe that takes us to the end for questions.
Thank you. This was a presentation I was looking forward to, as the work that you are doing is could be considered the anchor of the work that we do in safety and wholeness. So I want to thank you all. I want to open the floor for questions from my fellow commissioners before I ask, as I have a couple myself. Commissioner Coy, please.
Yeah, I'm certainly echoing that this was a powerhouse of presentations all back to back. Thank you, everyone, for your presentations. This is a more global question, but I'll direct it to Mr. Shaw a little bit more specifically, which is what ways you all document lessons learned, the expertise, the ways that you have been able to make such a significant impact. How are we documenting those lessons, both to celebrate the great work that you all are doing, and just thinking, how do we ensure that we continue to do these great things for a long time that have proven to be effective?
Thanks for that question, Commissioner Core, and hello, commissioners, if I didn't say hello in the beginning. I think you went in and out on the question, but I think you said how are we documenting or some of the things that we're doing. So I would say this, Commissioner Coy, everything that we do is kind of rooted in hope. And so what we do, we document the intakes. We document the story, right? And then we look at the success rate. So we have something called the stay and stick rate. The stay rate is when we re-engage a student, the number of credits that student had before he got re-engaged, right? And then we look at in semester 2, did that student earn credits, stay in school, stay enrolled, and on their way to success? So that stay rate is important. The stick rate is important for those who are enrolled and they graduated. So that's one way we kind of look at what we're doing that is working. The other thing that we do, we look at the students who share with us their story and sometimes why they have to start all over. And sometimes they have to start all over because of life circumstances. And so we look at the supports that we need to have in place before we can really re-engage a student. So what we're trying to move away from is having a reactive model, but more of a proactive model. And the more we know about the student and the family, the better we are able to support them up front than on the back end, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Seems like Commissioner Coy might be having some challenges. Commissioner Coy, you back on?
No, well, and I'll leave my camera off to see if that improves the connection.
Okay.
But no, thank you so much for that response.
Thank you.
Fellow commissioners, any other questions? Which gives me the green light. Great.
I have
So,
a question,
oh,
Chair.
yes, ma'am. Commissioner Slater Harrington, the floor is yours.
Apologies. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate about what Mr. Shaw has shared, and uh, uh, and students and to make sure that whatever we're doing to mitigate the challenges, it is what the students and families want and need. I'm curious for the attendance teams. Are your teams able to get granular in what is needed and then have the resources to address those needs that are inhibiting the students from attending? I know oftentimes we do incentives and you give parties or pizza parties for those who attend, but I'm wondering if we're really getting at the root causes. And if we have the institutional support and the resources available to be able to meaningfully impact our attendance rate.
I can jump in here. Mr. McCoy, would you like to start? And then I can support you.
Absolutely. And so we're partnering with schools to identify what the barriers are individual per school. And so we come up with a very ways to help our students to identify their barriers and connect them with the resources. We partner with our district office teams, with the Office of Health and Specialized Services and Office of Family Community Engagement, different offices who can support in helping to give an immediate need to some of our students. As it was already mentioned by Dr. Pate, some of the students who are homeless, that's a huge barrier for some of our students. And so connecting them with the MVP specialist, following them through the best determined the bid and following that process all the way through and supporting the schools and families, making certain that they can be supported along the way. But there is always barriers that are being presented, but we look at each case individually, each school individually, and give the support that we can within our resources and through the support district staff that's available.
Thank you, Mr. Apologies. Thank you, Mr. McCoy, for sharing that information. And in one of the slides, we made reference to some of the internal and external partners. And we know that, for example, the work we do with the mayor's office, there are some resources that they can provide that we may not have access to. So having those partnerships and understanding the resources that the different teams can provide. For example, if what's impeding a student from being able to come to school is dealing with a family issue around them not having housing, then we know that the mayor's office has a team that can support us with that, probably quicker than what we can. Then also with the Office of Health and Specialized Student Services, we know that they have different resources as well. So just knowing the different teams that we can tap into that can support in providing those resources is very helpful. In addition to knowing the different agencies that are external, so that we can make sure that the teams have the resources that they need to provide for the families, so that they have a toolbox to go into meetings and to go into sessions with to support schools.
And Edie Goodwin, I'm gonna piggyback off of your answer. I just do want to also note that the attendance team has been working very closely with a lot of our school leaders, who have been seeing great strides in their attendance due to the fact that they've been all incorporating that PDSA cycle, and they're finding those small barriers. Sometimes the barriers are laundry needs. Sometimes the barriers are uniform needs and things like that. Dr. Pate's office does a very good job with assisting, but then also our community school partners within the Office of Communication and Family Engagement are assisting us now. We have all schools have a community school liaison. They are helping connect resources as well. And a lot of our schools now even have laundry centers that the families can use and things of that nature. So a lot of the work is because of the continuous communication that happens between our central office teams and how they are deeply engaged with our schools. And so a lot of the personal relationships that they have and how they're able to connect everyone to the resources and the work that they do help bridge that gap. And we have seen through adapting these resources from the attendance team that a lot of our schools have successfully been able to drive their attendance rates down, and they are sharing those practices amongst each other when we come to our leadership development meetings and other training sites as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Commissioner Coy, saw you had your hand. Okay, hearing Nothing from Commissioner Coy. Any other commissioners have any questions? Okay, great. So I will ask a couple here. Um, I want to start off with just stating that I am super excited to see the collaborative work that's happening around addressing chronic absenteeism. So, with that said, are there additional opportunities for some of that collaboration that's happening within our schools and with our principals to happen with some of our partners that are addressing chronic absenteeism? Is there room for that to happen, especially when we're highlighting how much we're collaborating, which is great, with city-state agencies?
Well, we provide the Office of Student Conduct and Attendance. We provide office hours every single Thursday, and that's opportunity for us to bring in district partners. We also bring in external partners, and we give them up, and we invite principals and school staff to be a part of those office hours. We roughly manage somewhere between 90 to 125 schools that will log on weekly and have to be represented. And so they get a plethora of information as it pertains to chronic absentee and attendance overall in general. And then we have connected many leaders, school leaders, with partners that help their schools individually and directly. And then all the information that we receive and whatever presentation that is given, we upload it to our attendance hub. Every school has access to the attendance hub. Every partner within the school district has access to the attendance hub, and anyone who's want to see what their work look like, we give them access to the attendance hub as well, because we want to make certain that our schools are successful and our leaders are as well.
Thank you. Yes, that's right. And we are always open. So if you do know of some additional partners who may have given you information or said that they wanted to get in contact with us, if it's ones that we are already working with, we could acknowledge that. But if there are others that we are not working with, we are definitely open to have conversations with them and to partner with them because we know the attendance work is everyone's work.
I appreciate that. I think that finding ways to highlight this collaboration is really important because it's working, and we want to be able to scale what's working and tell a story. Um, but I think one thing moving forward to be able to hear that will be great is the participation rate of those actual contractors and those vendors that we use because we have found something that's working, and being able to hear that they are actively, whether it be required or not, that they are actively participating in what we know is working is really important. So want to thank you there. I'll move on to some concerns with regards to reengagement. I think this is critically important because we are in budget season, and I am clearly going to be loud that this is the work that we need to support, not just verbally, but with our budget. And with that said, Dr. Shaw, the question is around the students that we are placing. When we're placing students, we're doing a lot of work to assure that they have their most basic needs met before we send them off to a school. When we send them off to schools, do we find that one, there are some schools and some leaders that are better prepared and equipped based on the resources they have in their schools for those students? And if that is the case, do we find ourselves in any way leaning on those schools more than others? And I ask that from a budget standpoint, because if we are, then we should be supporting those schools that are partnering with you in the critical work that you're doing. So just wanted to give clarity and some insight on where my question is coming from.
Okay, good question. So we try to, there's a lot that goes into assigning a student to a particular school. We have to think about the geographical location. There's safety issues in the community with that school. There is looking at what the parent is saying, what the parent is stating about what the issues are. So there's a lot that goes into it, right? And so when we get those unique scenarios, Commissioner, we do have to, in my case, we may call a principal and say, this is the story, this is the situation. Do you think this is a fit? And what do you need from us to be better support this student? Because we know this is the best place for the student, but what other supports that you may need from us? And so we have those conversations, but we try to spread it around. And we have data to show where we have assigned students in different networks across the schools. And I could share that data with you. But the other thing that comes to mind is the mindset of leadership as well. So we have to think about, the type of leader, how the student and family responds to leadership styles. And so that goes into question as well. So to answer your question this way is that when we find that we may overload a certain school because of particular reasons, we offer greater support and we try to work with that principal. It happens, it doesn't happen it's not something that happens all the time, but we may say this leader can support this type of student because of their leadership style and the support and resources they have in that school. And we have that conversation. And then we try to provide that support to that school if we know the leadership mindset is correct. And what I mean by that, they're willing to go the extra mile, but they may need a little extra support from us as well. Does that make sense?
It does. I appreciate it. I think we definitely take advantage of the opportunity of seeing that data as we would, especially right now as we're preparing for budgets, would definitely like to know how resources are being allocated based on our highest priority need students being placed back in schools. Well, I have another question for you around just transfer ambassadors. Can you talk towards any work that your office is doing with the transfer ambassadors, understanding we have 3, and just trying to see if there is collaboration that's happening there?
Yes, there's collaboration happening. It's funny you would ask that question. Just was in a conversation just 2 days ago with a transfer ambassador working with the family. There is collaboration happening, and where we come in this case is what support will that student need from. They may not have come through the re-engagement center, but the re-engagement center can offer resources to help that transfer be successful. And so I'm in conversations with transfer ambassador right now about what we can provide to support the transfer, even though the student may not have come through re-engagement. So collaboration is happening.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I just have one other question, and I will focus it towards the work around school-based violence intervention. So it's amazing to hear that we are moving towards finding a person in a process of evaluation. So great, solve my problem. That's where I wanted to go, right? What I do want to know, because I know it exists, what are those qualitative measures that we're already aware of when it comes to this work? Why are we, because there has been an effort to expand on the work. So what qualitative measures already exist? And along with that, because the work is a school-city partnership, I know that the funding is coming on the other side. What conversations are we comfortable with knowing that this work is going to be sustained moving forward in the following years? Sorry.
All great questions. I am going to call on Edie Goodwin to help me answer some of these, particularly some of the conversation as it relates to the funding side of it. But starting off with your conversation on what have we learned or what do we know so far? Qualitatively, we have heard from our administrators that they're really appreciative of the additional support within the schools. We have heard not only just from our administrators, but we also heard from students as well, right? So they have additional supports, additional adults within the building that they can go to, whether it's for the mediations and beyond the mediations, they have additional adults within the building that they can have conversations with. We've also heard that what our schools are really enjoying is that extended opportunity to have additional partners and resources within the building. So our principals and our teachers are really excited that the movement team, or whether it's the peace team, are able to also bring in additional adults or additional partners that can have conversations with our young people. And sometimes those conversations get a little deep. I think, was that, it might have been last week, I can't recall which school, but for one of our team members, they had to ask our team member to step out so they could really go deep in the conversation. They really wanted to have some intentionality, and they wanted to have some real intimacy in just the conversation and what they were sharing. I think that speaks a lot to the trust that is built and the relationships that are built. And so, in many of these schools where the program is occurring, we are rebuilding relationships with our communities. For whatever may have occurred previously, there's new school leaders that are coming on board. And so they're really in a space where they're trying to rebuild trust, not only with the staff or the schools within, but also rebuild within the neighboring community. I will say that is one additional qualitative piece of data that has been heard as well, whether it's the peace team and the partnerships and the relationships that they've been able to develop with the community, or whether it's the movement team and particularly the relationships that they've also been able to build within the school and the community. That has been extremely helpful. Some of the other data points we're really looking at is, of course, the number of mediations that are occurring. We're doing the number of lunch bunches that are occurring. We're also looking at the number of student-led initiatives that are happening. So it's not just about the adults and what the adults are doing in the building. This is really, truly about how we're empowering young people to be leaders in this space. And so I think that is probably also the most prominent thing, too, that there are a lot of young people who are stepping up saying, I am really interested in being part of this work. So in the second half of the year, we will start to really see that part take off. So they're just in the beginning part of really doing some of the engagement sessions and information sessions to get the youth ambassadors online and get them started and to initiate their training. But they are young people who are stepping up saying, I really want to be a part of this. I'd love to see what's been started here, and I'm going to be a part of that. So we'll have some student-led initiative data as well that we'll be looking into. Alongside that, they want to also see what is the impact of the mediations, how many of those, the results of the mediations, how many of those mediations, if students have to come back and they need another mediation, they're also tracking data around that as well. And then, of course, we're just looking at the overall impact on the school culture. How is it impacting our suspensions? How is it impacting our attendance as well? And then Edie Goodwin, do you want to share a little bit more about the funding piece of it?
Sure. So I believe Katia nailed it with the different pieces, but one thing I definitely wanted to reiterate is the CBOs that we have in the building. And I know one is probably going to knock it out the ballpark when they speak after we do, because I understand one is on the call with us today. But it has been huge with the way we can use our CBOs as role models and making sure that like the students see someone who is in a positive light, someone who looks like them, someone who they can respond to. So the feedback that we have been getting, as Katia said, from our students has been amazing. Like those relationships. One thing that we were being asked about before is when something happens in a school and we send individuals in who don't have relationships with students, the students are not comfortable talking with them or sharing information with them, but we have individuals there on the ground. So that addresses that piece. But I'm not going to keep going on about that because again, I know we have a presentation about that. But I also wanted to say about like the youth ambassador piece and how the students, the leadership piece, they will be building capacity within those students so students can lead because we know what greater voice to lead students than your own colleagues, than your own peers. And then as far as the funding part, we are definitely doing resource mapping right now to see what is in the schools. There may be some resources that are currently in schools, but we just have to adjust some of the models. We want to make sure that every single partner that is in the school that is dealing with the climate and culture and anything dealing with students, that they are impacting a data point. So before we say that more funding is needed, we want to make sure that we look at the way we are using the current funding that we have. Because when we look at some of the funding that is being put into climate and culture in the building, now we need to bump those data points up against what individuals are doing and hold them accountable as we are with the 4 schools that we're doing with the CBVI program. So we know that we have some evaluating to do to make sure everything that we have in place is being as resourceful as possible, but also conversations. We're continuing to have conversations with the mayor's office to see with the funding that they currently have, how we can expand what is already there so that we can get into more schools and create a model so that schools really see and understand the effectiveness of looking at the data the way we are and making sure that their programming is tight so that it addresses the concerns for each of the different communities. Hopefully that answered your question.
It does. I want to just take the time before we move on to thank you, E.D. Goodwin, and the entire team for the work that was done on that's being done around school safety and the collaboration. It's good to hear that we're getting to a point where we are talking about the work that we're doing with other agencies. There's work with the Enough grant that is coming around. There's work connected to the consortium that we touched last time we met. There's a lot of work in partnership. We should find ways to highlight these collaborations because we want to all take ownership of the work that's being done. And I would hope that, is this being brought to the board as a whole? This presentation being brought to the board as a
This
whole?
presentation, no, we're bringing it to
Okay,
this
great.
committee.
No worries. So I think that moving forward, being able to really, within our presentation, be able to look at how we are going about sustaining the funding, because this is great work, and great work often goes unrecognized, and when it goes unrecognized, it goes underfunded. So from a board standpoint, just making us aware where these dollars are coming from, and if they are dollars that we expect to have moving forward. And if not, it would ring our bell to say, if this is something that's a priority for you, do something about it. So thank you very much.
If I could just add one piece, I don't know if he's on here, but I know Dr. Leaf, he keeps the opportunities in front of us as far as different grants that are out there. So I'm not sure if he's on here, but I just wanted to thank him if he's not, because I know he'll listen to the recording if he's not on here.
Great. He might be signed up for public comment, so we will see shortly. We will see shortly. So thank you very much for the presentation. We are going to move on to our community partner. If our community partner and team can come on screen. Today, we have the pleasure of having the peace team with us. As we just saw, the peace team provides services at multiple schools within the district, and particularly at Mervo University. Um, uh, and others, but the work that we heard about tonight, they are actively doing at Mervo University. So, Peace Team, thank you for being here and taking the time as a partner of the school district to come on today and make us aware of the great work that you're doing with our young people. The floor is yours. Looking forward to it.
You want to begin, E? I think his mic is muted.
I'm in now.
Well,
Okay.
oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. So, my name is Zach Brown. The Peace Team. I have with us Mr. Joe Edison and Brother Angola Brady to help with our presentation. I don't think the presentation, Mr. Muhammad has the presentation. I'm not sure, but just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to present before y'all, and had this opportunity a few times to present to great people such as yourself, many of whom I'm very familiar with and very thankful of. So I think Mr. Brady has the our slideshow, and if Mr. Muhammad doesn't have it, so Mr. Brady, you probably could just go from there.
Is the presentation not showing? You
The
all don't see
Yes,
it?
it's showing on
I
my
see it,
it's showing on my
Tanisha.
screen.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, it's not showing on mine. Well, as long as it's showing on yours, that's good
Okay.
enough, sir.
Okay. Again, I thank you for allowing me to present this. My name is Brother Angola Brady, Peace Team member. So we'll start with the presentation of the Peace Team, being a nonprofit organization geared towards preventing violence and intervention. So it's a two-pronged step, which is we want to get in there and try to prevent things from escalating into violence of any manner, not just gun violence, but violence of any manner. And we also try to diffuse situations that already has arose, maybe just from a physical fist fight, but we know that has the potential to escalate into some other or greater form of violence. How do we do this, and what does this look like? We use credible messengers such as myself, who was once out there in the street living a certain kind of way, and we use these lived experiences to network in all throughout the communities, all throughout the city of Baltimore, knowing people, communicating through the people that we know who have pretty much a foothold in these different areas, and we use them also to help us to mediate conflicts, because we know that we may not know everybody, but we always try to be in every area and mingle with those who do have some kind of foothold in there, so we can use them just to get us to have the discussion with people to de-escalate situations. So the agenda is about us, which I already spoke about. Eric Brown, which is EB, is our founder. And I spoke about the program overview. So you can slide it again. Next. The mission statement. The mission statement of peace is to liberate Baltimore City residents from poverty, crime, and violence through education, mediation, and community organizing. So I'll use the first one, from poverty. We also try to, because we have a resource center that we utilize to bring people to our resource center to get them jobs. We try to assist in housing, some of the small and simple things as far as birth certificates, social security cards. If they have any kind of drug issues, we try to get them in substance abuse programs. We also we have a program set up where we try to clear their charges any charges that they can be cleared, we try to clear them of. Crime and violence. Well, you move a little too fast. Oh, speaking of the founder again, thank you. Population description. Much of the population served under the age of 24, African American young males, residents of Baltimore. They are underserved and at high risk of becoming victims of perpetuating violence, community violence. The model that we use is not only do we deal with those young people who are at risk, but we deal with a lot of young people who's willing to risk it all. And we already know that this is due to lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, lack of having community orientation and being geared toward building within the community. So all of that kind of goes out the window with the young people. So what we try to do is in us establishing, excuse me, bear with me, I have a little cold. We try to establish these connections with them, and in us establishing these connections with them, we try to educate them, inform them of the destruction that they can bring into their communities and play a role in it, from the smallest to the greatest, and just try to be there with them. Consistency. One of the biggest things that we have to use is being consistent with these young people. And we are very consistent with them. They know us by names. They know us at the schools. They know us at the areas that we work at, whether it be Fells Point, Druid Hill Park swim pools, the block parties that the mayor holds throughout the city, and therefore. You can go to the next one. No, I think you move forward. Now, this is a black. All I see is program overview. I see the title. I don't see anything else.
I think you pretty much wrapped the slide up.
Okay. This shows a scale through the daily messaging that we use through violence prevention and intervention. It's a scale through the year 2020 to 2022. Excuse me. Where it shows that murders and shootings decreased from 8 per year to 0. I think this is in Woodburn McCabe area, which is zip code 21212. 64% decreases in loitering and drug sales on Utah Street in Baltimore, Maryland. Oh, that's one of the sites that we have. And what we do down that site is we try to prevent any open solicitation. So we get out there, we talk to the people who are openly soliciting. We understand that there's a culture on Utah Street. We really can't do it by ourselves, but we are very effective in stopping people from openly soliciting to people.
So it seems like we might be having some challenges.
Can you hear me, Brother Muhammad?
Yeah, so we lost your staff
It's okay.
there.
I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Oh, here you go. He's back.
Brother Angola, we can't hear you. Brother Angola, we can't hear you.
Okay, Brother Muhammad, I don't understand. I don't know what's happening. I can see him talking, but
Go ahead and wrap up for us.
Yeah, he can't hear us and we can't hear him. So
Yeah, no
today our
worries.
ask is to basically we asking the board to expand our work because at this point we're kind of limited based on the rules and the guidelines of I believe we couldn't exceed over 100,000. So we're just asking that the board would expand our work and contract us with the board.
Thank you. I appreciate that. While we have you, I just want to take advantage of the opportunity to for any commissioners who might have questions directly from a group that's doing the violence reduction work in our schools, that's doing the work around safe passage for our students. If can you lean into that at all, particularly around safe passage?
Yeah, yes. What's your question concerning safe passage?
Can you talk to us a little bit about just the work that y'all are doing around safe passage and the impact that you currently are having? As I know you're working with quite a few of our schools, and you've hit that cap in what and who you can work with. So can you just highlight some of the work you're doing around safe passage, as that would be important to us to understand why this is something we need to consider increasing?
Yeah, sure. Safe passage work is coming along great. I think that is very imperative, and the work is simply what it states is just giving young folks safe passageway to and from school, and it also allows us to build more relationships with people in the communities, because as they see us walking through the community, walking through like the alleys and all the side streets, because we it's just not for us just standing around the school. It's the all the extension of the school and the neighborhoods and all. And so we in doing that, we get to meet neighbors and we get to meet people of the community, um, many of whom we wasn't familiar with in a lot of the neighborhoods, such as Harford Road, and well, we also have the Walter P. Carter, which we try to get people from the community to do this work with us, that guys and women that we know um, from our past. And so we know exactly who we have down there, and because they pretty much at least 80% of the team will be from that neighborhood, um, meeting the new people that come into the neighborhood, as they get out and do the work, they're kind of familiar with each other, and if not directly knowing each other, the faces are familiar from going to the same places in the neighborhood. So it allows us to do a lot of neighborhood, a lot of community building, and yeah, I love it.
I appreciate that. Fellow commissioners, any questions? Great. Hearing none, we want to thank the peace team for coming on today and sharing their work, as you are a vital partner in what we do in ensuring that our students are safe. Before we close out today, I want to know, do we have any public comment?
I didn't receive any. I'm not sure if there's someone on here who had tried to reach out to us. So if there is, just let us know. But we didn't receive anything in our inbox.
I have a comment.
Sure, please.
Hey, so Kevin Beasley, recently working with the school district when it comes to recruitment for mentorship.
Yeah.
And the director of Beats Not Bullets. I just want to say out loud, just because I want to say it out loud, Eric Brown needs to be put in position. Like, I don't have too much perspective of what this call is about, but he does the work on a level that I don't. So I just want to just give him that salute of he has came home and he has put his feet knee deep in decreasing violence in Baltimore City. And I appreciate that, brother.
Thank you for the comment. Dr. Phil
Yeah.
Leaf.
Good, I guess late afternoon to everybody. I just want to thank the committee. I think particularly the last two meetings, the one that you had in the community and this one, where you had the opportunity both from the city school people to talk about the groups that they're working with in the community, but also some of the community people themselves, particularly your last month's one, where it was almost all people from the community talking about it, or parents talking about these things, has been very helpful because as the Ugan just said, it's hard to get to or hear from some of the people that are actually on the ground. I mean, they're busy working on things that EB probably is funding his work out of 7 or 8 different funding streams that, and so having this opportunity to be hearing both what's working, but also I think as both this time and last time, what are some of the structural impediments? Because a lot of the work we do is focusing on up a child at a time or a school at a time, but some of these are replicating or occurring multiple, and the solution, again, the cost-effective solutions really need to be on, how, from what they've learned, and I think they have learned a lot, and they've been able to mediate some of these structural impediments, but they only are doing it with the 3 schools they're working with. And so having, again, hopefully you'll be continuing to have these sessions and inviting the community people as well as the staff people from Baltimore City Schools that are also very intensively working with them as many of the people from city schools who presented today to try to understand some of these structural things. And I think it's going to be particularly critical after April when we know what the next state budget is going to be. Because one of the things they are doing is moving money out of the Department of Education into the governor's office for the Enough program. They're moving money out of the Department of Education and Behavioral Sciences for the community school pilot study, both of which have, they're statewide, but they have many of the sites are in Baltimore City Public Schools. But how again those resources can be maximized and braided as well as the loss, because these also potentially mean money being pulled out of funding streams where people used to get them and they're not going to get them for this upcoming year. So I think particularly looking at between April, when we know what the budget is at the state level, as well as more experiences, because EB is working across lots of different projects. Several of the people are working across lots of different projects. Hearing again their successes, because I think they've been able to get successes, getting more credible people in there. The interfaces, not just with the students, but their ability to communicate and be seen as credible people to the parents and the other caretakers. I think is a real positive asset for Baltimore City. And again, want to just thank the whole your committee and some of the other school board committees for not just working on what the city people are doing, but they're increasing collaborations with community organizations. I think that they've been very helpful.
Thank you for the comment. As your voices are extremely important to us, and we want to continue to make this a pathway for your voices not only to be heard, but for us to be able to use our collective community expertise to help drive success in our schools. Do we have any other public comment? With that said, I want to close out today's meeting recognizing that this is National Social Work Month. As a social worker, it would be wrong for me not to highlight the amazing work that's being done. But that work is being done by both individuals who are licensed social workers and those individuals who we get to see tonight, like Mr. Eric Brown, and the work that the Peace Team is doing to assure that our community is safe. And with that, I will leave us with social workers are the heart of our communities, champions of equity, and voices of the unheard, a guiding light for those that are in need. Their work strengthens our schools, empowers our families, and transforms lives. As we close this evening's meeting, let us continue all to support those who dedicate their lives to the well being of others. Together, Baltimore, we can create strong schools, stronger communities. But today and throughout this month and every day, social workers provide a brighter future for all. Thank you to all our social workers in city schools, those that serve our students and staff alike. That is the end of our safety and wholeness meeting. We do not have a closed session after this. So with that, I say good evening, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.